whatever morning it feels like, Wednesday morning, it might feel like. We're on our new series. So we're on the 4 pillars of well-being. And along with the series, I have sent you a link to Richard Davidson, who kind of formulated this idea of the 4 pillars of well-being. So you can get a chance to meet the person, if you like, virtually, and have him discuss how he feels these can be helpful. So he's come from both a contemplative tradition, but also he's a neuroscientist, and that's kind of quite a common thing, certainly in America, that you get these sort of rather smart people that also do appreciate and understand some of the practices that have been really important for centuries. Yeah, so he's very he's very connected to the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama has kind of given him some experiments to do, or some ways to think about doing experiments, should I say. So his initial work was around working on understanding stress and depression. And the Dalai Lama said, why don't you work with things around happiness and strengths and growth? So that's where he moved into, and that's kind of where pillars of well-being came into being. So the first skill is we're going to work with today, which is what we work with every week, by the by, but it's the skill of awareness, or the skill of attention, and the pillar is awareness. So what we know is that 47% of our time we are distracted. Yeah, so we're here and then we're not here, and then we're not here, then we're not here, then we might be here again. And the skill of attention is knowing that we're not here. We're somewhere else, wherever we are, and we bring ourselves back. So it's not, so people get kind of a bit confused with meditation. Oh, I can't clear my mind, or I'm not very good at focusing attention. So the whole practice is about improving that element of attention. It's spotting it, being gentle, coming back, coming back, coming back. And it's just ways that we do that. Okay, so that's enough of the talking bit, really. So our experiment. So if you have got a drink, then find your drink. If you haven't got a drink, you're going to be doing the second part first. So if you've got a drink, then you are able to do 2 things with it. Possibly you're able to get a sense of touch because you've got a cup. So you're holding a cup, and it might be a cup that's significant, or it might be a very insignificant cup. It may be your cup. It may be a cup that you've chosen. It may be a cup that's been given to you. It may be one that just you stumbled across this morning in the, in the dark or whatever, and it's just, oh, that's the cup. So we may already have a connection with what we're holding or not. And if it's a warm drink, you will still feel the warmth, and that will go into your hands, or one hand, depending how you're holding the cup. So see if you can feel the warmth, and if there is a warmth still left in the cup, and what that might feel like. So what's it like to have a warm fingers? Is it a whole warm hand? Does the warmth make you breathe differently? Maybe the way you're holding it is tensing your shoulders. Maybe you need to hold it differently. Maybe you need to sit differently to be comfortable with the cup, with the warmth on the hand. Maybe the other hand would prefer to be there, and the other hand now feels cold. So noticing what's going on with the other hand. Maybe both hands are cupping the cup. Maybe both hands feel warm. Maybe it reminds you that you feel warm. Maybe it reminds you that the rest of the body feels cold, but the hands are warm. Maybe you like the warmth. Maybe the cup feels too warm, too hot. You're feeling like you have to move the hand away every so often because it's a little bit too warm. Maybe the hand doesn't cup the cup. the mug or whatever you're holding well. Maybe you have to keep changing your position. Maybe you want to have the hand underneath the cup. Maybe that feels more supportive. If you want to, then you can take a drink from your own drink. Of course, you can do that anytime, but you can take a sip. Or maybe the drink is done, but if you take a sip, what is it like to take the sip? Again, where do you feel it? Maybe the lip, maybe the tongue, maybe the whole of the mouth. Maybe the whole sensation in the mouth changes. So suddenly you're present to the mouth. Maybe there's a taste, maybe there's a strong taste, maybe it's just very familiar. Maybe you know that usually when you sip that you don't really taste anything because you're thinking about something else while you're sipping your tea. That your tea is really always in the background, or your coffee or whatever your drink is. What happens when it's in the foreground? Can you both get a sense of taste and a sense of touch? Do you need to move between the sense of taste and the sense of touch? Or can you kind of hold them both at the same time? So up to you if you want to take another sip or you just want to hold the cup or you want to put the cup down. That's up to you. It's always up to you. You know what I mean? In terms of the experiment of noticing, of paying attention. Now, what you may have also noticed is that some other time a thought's coming in, or a connection's coming in, or a feeling's coming in. Sometimes about now, sometimes about something that happened earlier, something about something that may be happening later. So we know that's what our mind does. Can we come back to the cup and the drink and the touch and the taste? And can we do that with a lightness rather than a harshness? Can we make the attention just a gentle reminder? Okay, so second experiment on attention. So if you have got access to the day, i.e. a window that you can see out of, you don't need to stay where you are. If you need to move a little bit or move your head or move your chair, then find the day. If you haven't, you can stay either with the cup or you can imagine what's out there. So if you are looking out, you probably looked out 1,000 times. If you are imagining, then it may be a very familiar imagining. So we might still have that sense of touch and that sense of taste, but now we have much more a visual sense. So it's very difficult to close down visuals when we kind of have a bigger space and our eyes are open. So taking in the visuals, there might be colors, there might be shapes. It might be a big space you can see, it might be a small space. You might be taking in the weather of the day. We've had a bit of a discussion about the dampness of the day. So you might see the water, the rain, you might get a sense of the damp outside. So I'll pause for a moment while you may be able to hear the outside. So wherever we are, most of us will have sounds outside. Even if we haven't got sounds that are very strong, most of us will have some kind of sound that we can hear. So we've tuned into the sound, we've tuned into the picture, whether that's real or imagined. So for the rest of the session, we're kind of going into the more obvious kind of process. So if you do want a drink, have a drink, of course. But if you can tear yourself away from the morning, then come to what you would normally do. If you feel really like, no, I want to notice the morning, thank you, and I want my eyes open, stick with that. That feels like the right thing to do. Please do. Otherwise, come to what you would normally do, which is either sitting on the floor, sitting on the chair, and finding some comfort. So that means probably wriggling a little bit. It might mean, you tighten the shoulders. You need to give your shoulders a little wriggle. You might need to kind of play around with your jaw a bit, move your jaw a little bit, open and close the hands. You pick the feet up off the floor, and then you might feel like you can be alert and sit. So it's this combination, isn't it, about we want to be relaxed, but we don't want to be kind of on our way back to sleep. We want to be kind of alert to the morning if we can. Do our best. That's all we can do. Gently awaken. So finding your sitting position. And we know that that helps if we can get a little bit of a sense of the spine, feeling like it can lengthen without kind of falsely holding the body. So the body needs to be relaxed, but we just have an intention, maybe feeling the spine on the chair, if we've got the chair near us, or imagining the spine rising from the chair or from the ground, up through the neck and to the skull. And we can feel our bottom on the ground, whatever's connecting, legs or feet. And we know where our hands are. The hands are connected. And the hands might still feel warm from holding the cup, or the mug or whatever earlier. So as we're going to do a couple of things this morning, so you can play along with this, hopefully, and that's my invitation. So earlier, I think everybody did have a cup and something to drink. So now that you haven't got the cup, I'm assuming you haven't got the cup and the drink, can you imagine or remember or remind yourself what it feels like to hold the cup and to sip the drink? Is that kind of very present? Is that something you can notice just through your imagination? It's something you can pull into being alive. As you do that, there'll be a connection maybe of how you feel about that, how you feel about the cup, how you feel about the warmth that you might still be able to remember, remind, bring back into your presence. And there might be a way you feel from the taste that might still be in the mouth anyway, or that sensation of warmth on the lips, in the mouth, in the throat, might still be present. So we're noticing something that's really only just happened. Yeah, it's very familiar. And in addition to coming back to the sense of touch and the sense of taste, we're also coming back to where we feel that in the body, hands, mouth, and maybe how we feel about that. Does it make us feel content? Does it make us feel anything? Maybe we don't just make us feel anything. It's just the warmth and it's just a taste. But most sense experiences have an overlay of how it makes us feel. It's possible it's just neutral, but usually it's kind of negative or positive. And it might be quite a mild feeling. Yeah. A bit comforted, maybe. And again, most of you got the opportunity to look out. Some of you maybe needed to imagine that. So you're going to be repeating that experience if you were imagining it. So with the eyes closed, ideally, but don't worry if you prefer to have them open, you have them open. Then imagining, reminding what you saw and what you heard. And again, because we're still in the same place, you may obviously still be able to tune into what you heard earlier. So we just reimagine, re-bringing to life our sight and our sounds. Now, sometimes the observation is stronger than the imagination. And sometimes the imagination is stronger than the experience. So you might get a sense of that, how powerful the imagination is as you conjure up those connections compared to your real experience. So for some of us, our imagination is much stronger, more powerful, what we conjure up, than what we're able to sense in the moment. And some of us will be more distracted when we're trying to imagine something than when we're really in the moment, sensing it in the purest moment. But some of us might be more distracted from the sense experience. The sense experience may always be background to most of our life, and then it comes a little bit stronger if it's a very heightened experience. But whatever, we have made a choice, perhaps. I know I've suggested it, but we've made a choice to notice. So knowing that we can make a choice in what we notice and where we give our attention. So sometimes we may feel quite powerless, but there's one power that we all have, is being able to give our attention to some extent by choice, to some extent, recognizing we get distracted. So if you wish to stay with those connections, please do, but I'm just going to invite you to come to another focus of attention, and that's the breath. So we've done this lots of times. So you kind of know that your routine, you know that maybe you have to be conscious of the belly movement. Maybe you find it a little bit difficult because you've got a cold, or you find it difficult to breathe. So actually breathing has a little bit of complication around it. So if that does and you prefer to choose something else, please do. But if you're happy to focus on the breath, then you discover the breath, and you might discover it differently today than you did last time that you paid it attention. And we're going to experience the breath in two ways, just briefly. So the first way is we're going to count the breath. And we're just going to count the breath up to 3. And if we go on longer, then we just count another 3. So you would notice the in-breath, and you then notice the out-breath, and you kind of just do a little bit of a pause of 1 in your head, and then you'd repeat that for the next breath, and you just get up to 3. And if more breaths come, then you go back to 1. Okay, so it's a really short experiment, a real little bit of a play. So sometimes that helps people, to have a count, to be able to get back to the breath, to be able to, okay, I know what my in-breath is in this moment. I know what my out-breath is. I know when that breath is finished. I'm going to just recognize that. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a number. And I'm not going to go to crazy lengths and count up and up and up. I'm just going to keep it really simple. But even with a count of 3, it can be quite easy to lose the count. It can be quite easy to forget whether that was an in-breath or an out-breath. And for some people, that's really helpful because it's paying a lot of attention. It's quite a lot of detail, and it feels like, okay, this is a way I can really find something both simple and something kind of challenging, and something that really is helpful for me to work on my attention, to give that practice. For others, it feels kind of a little bit too clinical, or it doesn't feel the kind of way they learn or find support or enjoy. So the other way of doing that is just let's feel the breath. Let's notice the breath. Let's see where it nourishes us. Let's see how it changes. Let's notice how we feel. And we'd be grateful or appreciative of the breath. And can we stay with the breath? And can we be kind with ourselves when we float away on a thought? Can we come back? Would that be okay? Can we make our connection with the breath for this moment? And if for any reason that's not okay, focus on the hand on the lap, or something where it doesn't give you any concern. Okay, so an option now, we're moving quite quickly, I appreciate that. You can stay with the breath. You can reconnect with the day, if you prefer, in the last few moments, to imagine the outside, what you saw, what you see in your mind, and what you hear. So it's our ability to be present to, and to have the intention to be present to. Finding that hook, that connection. Okay. So, hope you found something curious and interesting in our explorations. So we're now going to come home, come back, return. So maybe moving the fingers and the feet, maybe moving the body in the chair just a little bit to come back to the moving body. And when you're ready, if you haven't already, opening the eyes gently and carefully. Morning. Okay, so that was a bit different. So that was okay. So you might not feel the same if we do a kind of themed practice. So that's a bit more kind of a skill-based practice rather than a, you know what I mean. So yeah, so there's loads of opportunities with that to then move that into your day. So you might have a drink another time. I don't know, maybe you never have another drink apart from on a Wednesday morning. But there was an opportunity to reconnect with that, reconnect with looking out the window, going outdoors. So the idea that mindfulness and this kind of way of living, way of bringing things to life in a different way, with a different depth, can be done anytime, can be done with our eyes open. When we're walking, when we're running, and we kind of know that anyway, don't we? But it's a kind of reminder, maybe during this this first week, to notice when we get distracted. We'll do a little bit about, what happens when we get distracted, because we've already been distracted 5,000 times and it's only 7:45. Okay, so thank you for joining. We'll play around a little bit with this and I'll send you some stuff as I come across it. So thank you for playing. All right, have a lovely day. Happy Valentine's. We need more love in the world, that's for sure. So let's all concentrate on however we do that. Okay, lots of love and see you next week. All right, yeah, take care. Lovely. Nice smiling face.